I played Blaze to level 25. Here's what I learned. If you're tired of no tank games and quick match, Blaze might be the pick for you. He's not the strongest and he's not the safest, but his limitations build good skills and habits that can be used on other heroes. Blaze has everything a tank needs to succeed. A large health pool, lots of slows, a powerful stun, armor on demand, and good multi-target damage. So why is he so meh? It comes down to how he fills his role. Blaze is less of a hold you down and have his way with you tank, and more of a my existence is your problem tank. The range of his abilities and the threat of his stun allows Blaze to control a large area. Nudging your opponents into vulnerable positions lets you take favorable engagements, increasing the odds of success in a fight. Hasn't someone written about this? But that means a lot of Blaze's gameplay will be just standing there menacingly. Don't get me wrong, warding, anchoring, and zoning are incredibly important. What I mean is, when compared to another tank like Muradin, Blaze plays a little more passively, because when Blaze goes into a fight, he's all in. Don't miss your stun! Better to play defensively, running interference, waiting for the right moment to strike. More of a linebacker than a tackle. What am I saying? Y'all don't go outside. It's not that you can't play him aggressively, you just need to know what you're doing. Blaze is also capable on his own. His kit is almost tailor-made to terrorize the solo lane. A little light on the single target damage, but he can poke, clear waves, and heal through trades. The biggest problem you'll have with Blaze, especially as a new player, is running out of mana. For reference, a spell that costs 20 mana is around the upper limit for a spammable ability. Blaze's cheapest and spammiest spell costs 30 mana. If you're not careful, you'll run out of gas. Can't burn nothing on an empty tank. Thankfully, all of his abilities can hit multiple targets for better fuel efficiency. That's Blaze in a nutshell. No mana, lots of health. You would think that having the third highest health pool in the game, only 50 less than Cho'Gall, would let Blaze eat damage like a hammer player eats glue, but that's not the case. Blaze can take some punches, but in a fight you want as many hit points as possible. Duh. Sure, Blaze can heal himself, but it's not very quick and it costs mana. 80 mana specifically, over 2 abilities. That's expensive. You have 500 mana at the start of the game, and each level only gives you 10 more. So don't be so smug sitting there all cozy in your fireplace. If you take unnecessary damage, your mana bar is gonna feel it. You won't feel so hot when this is staring you down. Oh no, it's time for the objective. Let's say you have perfect mana management and all of your hit points. Even with all that beef, it still feels like Blaze dies faster than other tanks. Maybe it's because his self-heal isn't that bursty. Maybe it's because his escape can easily be interrupted. Or mistiming your defensives will have your health melting faster than jet fuel melts steel beams. What I'm trying to say is being fat won't stop you from getting jumped. So because of the range on your abilities and the risk to your jelly rolls, you as a Blaze player cannot afford to go all tunnel vision. Watching flanks stops ganks. You need to stay alive so you can control the battlefield with toxic, highly flammable petrofuels. Flame Stream is Blaze's primary poking tool, firing 2 parallel skill shots. This many. Each stream does its own instance of damage. Think of it as 2 spells in one. Hitting a target with both streams will net you a nice chunk of bonus damage. It's about 80% more. Great for poking the enemy or chunking a properly lined up minion wave. Each hero hit with a Flame Stream will reduce the cooldown on Blaze's trait by 4 seconds. So there's even more incentive not to suck. This ability will also ignite any oil spills it hits, damaging enemies and healing Blaze with soothing flames. Oil Spill is how Blaze controls the battlefield. This spell spurts out a lick of oil, which lasts 5 seconds and slows enemies by 50%. The way it's cast is a little funky. Gotta use that click and drag action to change the way the oil spills. If that's too complicated, you can always sling it out raw, which will angle it in the direction Blaze is facing. Self-casting does this too. This spell has 2 charges, so you can spread your fluids all over the floor like it's your bedroom. It has a 1-second refractory period, so it's gonna get everywhere. But no matter how good your stamina is, you can't shoot a gun with no bullets. Each charge costs 50 mana. Do it with me? That's 100 for both of them. 20% of your mana up in smoke. Not even considering your other abilities, which you will be using because lighting oil on fire is Blaze's whole shtick. Ignited oil spills burn for 2.5 seconds regardless of how long they've been on the ground. Setting them on fire does remove the slowing effect from the oil, but now they're on fire. With proper timing, you can squeeze out about 7 seconds of zoning. Spreading your juice around and making sure it stays as long as possible is key in making sure mom stays out of your room. But wait, there's more! If you look closely, you'll see that the oil slick is actually 3 tiny puddles instead of 1 large splooge. Is this important? No, you're welcome. Jet propulsion will send Blaze rocketing forward after a short delay, stunning any hero he collides with for 1.25 seconds. This stun is applied in an area around the victim, so keep an eye out for players with close friends. The radius of this stun is almost as large as Uther's Divine Storm, and on a much shorter cooldown. The hard part is connecting with your target. Jet propulsion is pretty telegraphed and so vulnerable to disruption, getting knocked out of the windup or some hero getting in the way. It'll also pass through heroes that can remove their collision like Tahaka, which isn't often, but it's possible. Since this is Blaze's one whole mobility skill, you'll be using it to either get in or out of combat. So when you go in, you best be prepared for consequences. Oh, and don't use it while rooted. The game lets you do this. It just burns the cooldown. It's dumb. Pyromania is a great defensive that gives Blaze 40 armor and a damage aura immediately on activation. It's your panic button. Caught out alone with no way home? Panic. Miss your E and poop your pants a little? Panic. Cost of living rising around you while wages are stagnant, so your only hope is to make it big on your own? And you decide to do that by making YouTube videos? Ha! The ability says a minute and a half cooldown, but this is lies. Just get good with your Q. In my experience, I rarely thought about this cooldown, and I always had it when I needed it. Your mileage may vary. But again, with the ability usage, spamming Q for the cooldown reduction is going to cost you a lot of mana. Blaze uses so much mana, you guys. Bunker drop drops a bunker on Blaze. Wow. There's a half-second delay between using bunker and being bunked. Unmolested, the bunker will last 10 whole seconds. During this time, Blaze and his allies can pop in and out of it at will. Inside the bunker, you get to use Baby's first flamethrower. It's cute, it thinks it's dangerous. On its own, it won't do much damage, but strap 5 babies together and you're going to jail. Entering the bunker puts you in stasis, removing you from the map and making you untargetable. Use it to dodge annoying abilities like Pyroblast, Hunt, Triple Tap, etc. Exiting the bunker, at will or otherwise, will grant you 25 armor for a few seconds, which I learned while making this video. I can't read. The bunker also blocks pathing, which can have some niche uses. Ah, the fun ultimate. And the one that really exemplifies Blaze's playstyle. Combustion is a channeled ability that vents all the farts accumulating in Blaze's suit. You really think he takes it off to poo? The longer he channels, the more gas escapes, increasing the spell's potency and stank. When ignited, enemies near Blaze are slowed by 60% and take 110 damage per second at level 10. A fully channeled Poot Nova will stink for 5 seconds. This ultimate is perfect for crippling a grouped up, stunned team, drawing aggro from the enemy, or forcing them to respect your personal space. Blaze does move slowly while degassing, and he can be interrupted. Blaze has lots of viable talents that you can play with, and picking the right one for the job can increase your effectiveness in the match. Neural Stim Pack at level 1. I said it once and I'll say it again. Blaze is a thirsty boy. There's arguably better options here. Neural Stim Pack can be used on cooldown for the mana return alone. Think of it like training wheels. Meltdown adds a debuff to his trait that can reduce the enemy's damage by up to 40%. That's almost half their damage, up in flames. Not to mention the 40 armor Blaze gets just for using the ability. You do the math. It's funny to watch melee assassins lose the only thing keeping them relevant. Meltdown is not to be underestimated, especially against dive comps. Nanomachine coating and suppressive fire. You'll pick one or the other depending on who you're fighting. Suppressive fire can burn away the enemy's spell power down to half, and nanomachine coating reduces attack speed by half. I'm confident you can parse when and where to use these. Blaze is not the best tank. He's interruptible, burstable, and uses buckets of mana. Despite his shortcomings, he's a great first step into understanding the role of tank. Knowing when to commit, keeping a wide-eyed view of the fight, and rationing your resources are all skills needed by tanks and other heroes alike. If needed, he can step into the solo lane, as his wave clear, poke, and self-sustain make him an effective bully, and in team fights he debuffs the enemy, slowing them and reducing their damage potential, all while denying them safety at range. His learning curve is a bit bloody, but if you stick with it, I promise you'll come out the other side a better player.